Welcome to the weekly open mic. We do this for all of you because you asked for it. Who knows how many people succeeded in automating without asking questions? The number is 0. That's another one. Normalize Discord usage. I mean, come on. We used to do email. We used to do telegraphing before that, faxing even before that, smoke signals. Normalize Discord usage and ask questions in your channel. Remember to tag people when you're doing this, because otherwise it might just get lost. There's a million channels everyone has to check. Remember to tag them. Hard water good, soft water bad. Shopping cart etiquette. Stay off the highway if you don't have a purpose to be there.
Usually it's just one of those.
Oh, well, today we're doing all of them.
Over to you, Ash.
And over to you, Ash.
Thank you, Calvin. All right, so now what we are actually going to do first is we're going to have George give us a little community PSA, just kind of about some of the things that you can look out for, and then we will move on after that.
Thanks, Ash. This is a little message for folks watching in the future, actually getting this at the start of the recording for our lovely community members over in EMEA in Europe and also down under in Australia, New Zealand. We realize that Friday afternoons over here in North America maybe isn't an optimal time for you guys to join open mic. And so we are in the process of planning to roll out some open mics for our partners in those geos. So as part of that, we want to make sure that you guys are included on when and where those are going to be. So please look out in your inbox for a very important email, as well as in the announcement channel on those dedicated servers in Discord for a poll we'll be launching where you can select the preferred times or days that you would like to have that open mic for the people over down under and over in Europe. That's it for me.
Thank you. Could not find my unmute button there. Thank you, George. Okay, so yes, very much. Please engage with those things when you see them, because we literally take that as what we choose to do. So every single voice, every single click matters to us. So please engage. Now let us go over to Daniel for our dev update.
Hi, everybody. Thought someone was going to share a dev update for me. That's unfortunate.
I know, I was like,
yeah.
Daniel looked like he was like nodding his head, like, yep, on it.
Great. So the first request I have for today, actually, maybe the only request I have for today, is we are looking at revamping the process of setting up org variables as you onboard in Roost. So if you have recently onboarded in Roost, we would like to get your feedback. So yeah, if you could, I'm going to post a survey in chat here. Your feedback will help us identify any challenges and improve the clarity and refine our setup process when you set up your org variables in Roost. So I just posted in chat there. With that, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go through some of the new things that we've got this week. It's been a bit of an exciting week for us. Our marketplace team, it's a big team and I don't want to leave anyone out, so I'm not going to name everybody, but it was a joint effort between our leads, our PM, our QA, our engineers, our automation engineers, testers, everybody else like that. But we launched 4 integrations this week. So as of yesterday, we have a Cisco Meraki integration, a SuperOps integration, SyncMonkey, and Anthropic. So Cisco Meraki, most of you probably know of. This is going to help with your network license management. We have a specific set of endpoints that we built in this integration. We did network management, organization management, and device management. If you have any other endpoints that you want to see us add, you can let us know through Canny. But otherwise, they'll still be accessible through the generic request for that. We added SuperOps, which is another option for a PSA tool. So you can do a lot of work with your ticketing, as well as a bunch of other stuff. We have SyncMonkey, which we implemented to help with your documentation. And Anthropic, which is a great AI tool that we use a lot of, we use Claude a lot internally. This is going to add to our AI offering on top of OpenAI right now. So each one of these is now available in your integrations page. I've already set up integrations for these but you can see them there. They each also have their own docs. So I've linked to the docs in these release notes. The setup instructions are very clear. I managed to set these up all in less than, I think 4 integrations in less than 10 minutes. And they're very simple. So for Meraki, all you need is an API key, and then you select the platform. For SuperOps, then we have the documentation. All you need is the API key, data center, and a subdomain. Same with SyncMonkey, API key and secret. Anthropic, we have docs. All you need is the version, API key, and base URL. For the Anthropic API version, if you look at their API docs, I just entered this one and it has all the most recent code models. So the 2023-0601 as an example, I've just entered that. And the best news of this all is they all just work. So if I run a test on this one, and the demo gods are with me, so you can see that all I've done on this action is you can see my I'll go to my input first. My input was just hello world, and then Claude came back and told me, hello, how can I assist you today? I'm here with this information. We have list documents. Claude?
Please stop pronouncing it that way. It's Claude, Daniel.
Claude.
It's Claude.
Oh, sorry. I'm
If you
French,
say it
sorry.
in
Thank you
French,
so much,
it's
Pizza.
no.
Thank you so
Sorry.
much.
If you say it in
I'm
French,
sorry.
it's
I was cringing every time.
I would
It
not say
hurt me.
GIF.
It took like 5 HP away every single time you said that.
You Americans have no idea what you're talking about, all right? Canada.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. You're just jealous because we beat you in hockey and you're still feeling it. So anyway.
Amazing.
Yeah. And now I've lost my train of thought, but with that, let's go back to a few other updates. We have some other integration updates relating to like base URL setup instructions, more like descriptions of actions and that type of stuff. We did fix some bugs as well that I won't go into because time constraints now, but and then we still have the GraphQL action that we're testing internally. We have some granular forms permissions that are still being worked on. That's an exciting one. Support access logs. That is going to be tested internally, I believe, in the next couple of weeks. The next sprint, we're hoping to get that out for internal testing, so we'll be able to do some logging. And then workflow executions dashboard widget, we're going to be doing some internal testing on that as well in the next sprint, with release date coming hopefully shortly after that. And with that, you guys can all take your clothes and move on to the next thing.
Thank you very much, Daniel. All right, so now it is time for JP. You've got your marketplace update.
Hey everyone. For this week in the marketplace, we don't have any new crates, but we do have a number of bug fixes on existing crates. We're really trying to dial in and get those fixed in a pretty timely manner. Next week, we're going to release a new Microsoft subscription alerts crate, and I'll probably ask the guy writing it to demo it for us as well. So stuff to look forward to for next week. That's it for me.
Thank you. Okay, now we are over to Brandon for our education update.
All right, let's go. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy last day of February. All right, let's dive in. We got some updates today from training. First of all, I need to give my game tip of the week because I forgot to do that last week, and there was a lot of feedback because y'all are a bunch of nerds like me. Oh, thanks, Kelvin. I see that. You're a handsome devil, too. My game tip of the week, I'm going to do this one off the top of my head. If any of you guys have played Xenoblade Chronicles X, then you know that coming to the Switch is extremely exciting and you should drop everything to play it. If you have not, that's because you are not one of the 15 people like myself who bought a Wii U, in which case I would say you need to play Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is coming to the Switch. very, very soon, and they've added a whole bunch of cool things. Yes, and we had Pokemon Presents, and as everyone expected, but the leakers always, decide that they're going to talk about other things. It was 90% mobile games, which nobody cares about, and we finally got a Pokemon ZA trailer, which is, exciting in theory. We'll see how it turns out. Those are my game tips of this week. So, shout outs to Daniel, Matthew, Fred, Scott, Brennan, Nate, David, Derek, Kevin, and James for passing the Foundations certification. You guys will get your prestigious certified rooster badge in Discord, and you will get access to our super secret or not so super secret channel where you can talk to the other bird brains. And also shout out to Charles, the single person who got the clean automation certification this week. We hope to see more in the future, but Charles, you're the man. So congratulations for getting that clean automation certification. Again, for many of you, you've heard this 1,000 times, but I'm going to say it again for anybody who's new. Make sure to check out Clean Automation. Foundations is a great start, but Clean Automation is essential for making sure you're building good, efficient, clean workflows. We put a lot of work into that, and a lot of our other partners find it to be extremely helpful. So definitely check that one out. We also have the Roost Foundations Bootcamp with the legendary Eddie Chow coming up on March 3rd through March 4th. So don't miss that if you haven't already taken, or even if you have. Eddie is always evolving in his legendariness. Yes, I just made that word up. Otherwise, you can come talk with us in the Discord channel, the ConnectWise Discord channel. And you can let us know if you have any questions. We are happy to help you, happy to support, happy to be there for you. And lastly, just as a normal reminder here, we have office hours where you can get more time with the legendary Eddie Chow if you have any other questions. So check that one out as well. Otherwise, we have a list of updates here. For Collect University, we are actually going to be making a shift starting on March 10th, where we will be delivering the automation basics as well as the foundations training on a weekly basis. And this is because we wanted to really have an emphasis on Jinja and troubleshooting in foundations. Jinja is something that we want to make sure that everybody can wrap their heads around. And so Eddie has done a lot of work to prepare for this. And then we will be shifting the clean automation training live to a monthly boot camp. So we're going to be switching those up. We have self-serve for all of this, so don't worry. You can still take self-serve, and we would highly encourage you to do so. In fact, many of our most successful customers not only took the live training with Eddie, but they also took self-serve or vice versa. So the more you can engage with the content and the more you can practice some of those skills, the better. Otherwise, you can give us some feedback here, but I'm going to jump straight to our massive list of updates here and get through this as quickly as possible. So Cisco Meraki, SyncMonkey, Anthropic, and SuperOps all have integration pages added, so we got that added there. We have the new Microsoft User Onboarding Crate V2 pages added, and yes, I said pages. Massive shout outs to Ray for this one. I believe this one ended up breaking down to like 7 or 8 pages. It's a lot of information, but we have everything you need to understand how to utilize that crate, troubleshooting, how to migrate to it if you're using the old version of the crate, what is expected, what the prerequisites are, what org variables you need, everything. It's all there. So go check that one out if you haven't already. From the Cluck University standpoint, we've also reorganized and added some more clarity in terms of order and what the pages are structured like. So check that out. Clean Automation has also been restructured in self-serve format to match the structure changes we made to the Foundations course. So we've broken it down into micro-learning. So you have smaller videos, so it'll be easier to progress. And then other than that, we have updates to the Halo integration page that includes information about which fields are required for our user onboarding and offboarding crates. The user report, Microsoft Graph, quick start steps have been updated as well. We got some feedback on that. So shout outs to the team who gave us that feedback. ConnectWise Screen Connect integration, we've changed the brandings and some of the setup steps there. And then we've added landing pages for the documentation integration, RMM integrations, licensing integrations, and cloud integrations to not only include more information about those integrations, but also what crates apply to those integrations. So you can check out what's going on there. And then we also have some updates to the Microsoft Cloud Integration Bundle, as well as the Configure Organization Variables page as well, to include the preferred domain controller field. Whew, so that was a lot. We have a lot of updates, and we're continuing to move forward quickly with a lot of the changes. We have a heavy emphasis on making sure that we have some work going on in Docs to make sure you have everything you need. And of course, if you haven't already seen it, the open mic page from last week is included as well. So that is it from me for now. Back to you, Ash.
Thank you very much, Brandon. You can go catch your breath now. I will jump over to our first demo, which is actually going to be Lachlan. Lachlan, are you there?
Yep.
Awesome. What time is it for you right now, Lachlan?
7:20. Not too bad.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all good. Right, thanks for that. So the automation I'm sort of demoing today is one that we had on the cards for quite a while. We recognized potentially a security issue where, if you've got your devices hanging around in Intune, Entra that have been there for a long time, sure, everyone's got that. They sit there stale, it messes things up. And so we built out an automation that will allow the customer to manage their own environment with respect to that. So not only can we manage it for them, but the intention is to give this automation to our customers so that they can then set certain settings that will allow them to set stale age, disable age, things like that, and manage that themselves, because, so we don't have to. So there's quite a few components to this automation. There's about 8 workflows, or one main workflow, a couple of sub-workflows, whole heap of triggers, and some notification templates. The form that runs it, so you've got a couple of options here, so you can just review, and this will just send a report, and you can set your stale age 365, for example, and then I can send it to myself. I'm not going to do it now because I've got some stuff that's already pre-done. I don't want to have the demo gods go against me, but anyway. So when I run that automation, I get a report similar to something like this. This is all HTML on the back end with a notification template. And what this allows me or the customer to do is they can look at these devices and they go, yeah, I don't care if these all get purged out in the next 90 days or whatever it might be, and they can choose to leave them. Or they can click one of these little exclude buttons. Now, what this does is this will call a webhook, and it actually it injects parameters into the URL and allows for a dynamic page to show up when the webhook is executed with all the device information. So this one, for example, I click that, as a stale device has been excluded from the purge. It says what the device is, so obviously that's all dynamic. And the next time that someone runs a report, or the next time that same report is run, and there might be there's a scheduled version of it as well, they will get something like this. It'll say the devices. One issue that I've got is that it will still show that same device in there, even though it is excluded down here. So I've just got to filter that one out. But it will show the device that it was excluded. It will say when it was excluded on the date, who it was excluded by. And they also have the option to remove the exclusion. So a reason why that they would have this is, sometimes there might be a litigation reason why that device might need to remain inside of the environment. You don't want it to be purged out. They want to exclude it from that purge and have it sitting in a cupboard because there might be, something going on. So, and then if they no longer want that, they can hit remove exclude. Now this will do the same notification template as the one that I just showed you. So it will say that it is now excluded, which I've just got to change the language around a little bit, but in the back end, it removes that device from being excluded. And that's just an organization variable where the workflow will add that to the list. So this is the workflow here. There's quite a few triggers. There's cron trigger to remove, cron trigger to report, the form trigger and the webhook trigger. The webhook trigger will just, the parameter string will push whether it's an exclude or include, remove from exclusion. It'll just push it whichever way and update the org variable as needed. And then the form trigger is pretty self-explanatory. It gets the user running it, checks to make sure they've got access to the form. If it's disabled, it will go through this workflow and either disable the device if it's managed or remove the device straight away if it's unmanaged, because you can't disable a unmanaged device. This workflow also eventually export the BitLocker keys because you don't want to disable a device or remove it or delete a device that you don't back up BitLocker for. And yeah, so this is and then this part here just pushes out the report. So yeah. And as far as the notification templates, I don't mind sharing this code. It's just, it's some HTML, CSS. And just inject parameters in via, some loops with Jinja into the link buttons. And that's how I do it. The only other thing I'd say is I realized, I noticed that you can, these templates will also do JavaScript. So that template that you get that second time, if you hit the exclude button when it loads that page, I had to use some JavaScript to, grab the parameters out of the URL and push them into the table. But that's how I do that as well. And that's pretty much it.
Kelvin, you have a question?
Yes, I actually do. Well, not a question. A questionment. Have you ever encountered that you bump into issues that, for example, Smart Scanner Defender clicks on all your links? Because I saw you don't have a post check or a check like really exclude, and a lot of link scanners these days just follow the link once and they're actually excluding your devices.
Something you have to do to the URL.
I haven't seen that happen yet. I mean, we use Avanan for our mail filtering.
Okay.
Avanan, obviously, it's API based. It doesn't hit the links, so I'm lucky. But look, if you were doing this sort of thing, you'd probably have to take that into account potentially.
Yeah.
There was another question. Brian?
Yeah, is there a resource or guide you use to set up the webhook web page that loads when a user clicks on it? I've tried using that before and it always just launches a blank page.
I can show you my settings in the trigger. Webhook trigger. So just to get and the response body, I'll put in the template, and then the header response content text HTML, and then no wait for response.
Gotcha.
And that works. No worries.
Thank you. That sounds like something that would be a good deep dive into. That's really cool. All right. Thank you so much. Next up, we are going to have Josh. Are you on, Josh?
I'm here.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Hello.
Welcome to the open mic. Thank you for being willing to demo.
For sure. So this is a really simple thing that we built out, but what I was dealing with is something when we were still doing onboardings outside of Roost. We had a form people were filling in Cloud Radio, and my onboarding team was giving clients this list of stuff like which groups should the user be a member of, and they would list all these groups, and the user was supposed to remember which groups to select. And they would have all these questions, which shared mailboxes, which this, which that, and it always bothered me. And so when I was looking at Roost and we're thinking about having the users kind of do self-service onboarding and offboarding, I'm thinking the same thing. Why do people have to fill out a form and select which group someone should be a member of or select which applications a person should have? So I wanted to be able to automate that in our forms. And so we built out a couple things, and I'm going to show you the form first. And then we also did some stuff around organization variables onboarding. But so the first thing we did is we did 3 types of users so we can drive some different variable logic around it. So we have full-timers, part-timers, and contractors or interns. And then based on that, so if I select full-time here, we're going to have demo problems. Let's see. The goal is that by selecting the type of user, we can pre-fill a lot of the forms or a lot of the fields in the onboarding so that the users don't have to think. So I select full-time, it chooses the primary email domain for us automatically. And it's not working today. Well, that's not because this company isn't working for some reason. Let's do someone else. Okay. So full-time. And what it should do for us is pre-select the email domain, pre-fill the security groups, pre-fill the distribution groups for us. And then we also built in some new stuff into this. So we have with our shared mailboxes, we also send out a shared calendar invitation, and then we can select which permissions they're going to have for the shared mailbox and calendars and which permissions they're going to have for their meeting rooms. So it's a really, really simple thing, but it means that when we're training our end clients to start filling out these forms, they can just select full-time user, put in the name, couple fields, and they're done. And everything is pre-selected for us. So to be able to drive this, it's based on a lot of organization variables. And at first I was starting to just add all these org variables manually. And it gets super confusing when there's only one line per org variable in the table. And it's just like a lot of clunky work. So then we built this. So we have a new org variable onboarding form. And this is different based on on-prem or Google or M365. We only have the M365 built so far. And so I found the only things I was really filling on the other form per client was the username format and the licensing distributor. So I pulled those in here. And I noticed on the other onboarding that's built in, the form, sometimes it makes you re-enter the fields every time. It doesn't check what's in the table and display them for you. So this form always goes and checks what's there and shows it to us. And then we have 3 different portions here. So we have the full-time portion and the part-time and the contractor. And we are just basing the security groups and the distribution groups. These are based on the group ID. So I just go into SIP, I turn on the ID column, and I can just copy these out really quickly. I would like to build this out so we can actually just select them by name. It would be easier to track. But we have these, and then we have either the direct license, the actual license, the ID of the license type, or we do the license group if we have those. And then it's the same thing with the shared mailboxes and the resource mailboxes. We base this on the ID, and then we just built out a scheme on the permissions where we can just put those in by name, like editor availability. We also modified this form. Most of our clients use Zoom. So we threw the, let's not show that here, but we threw the Zoom API onto here as well. So this one onboarding form gives us everything we need to kind of build out our automations, and we just keep adding to this as we go. Super, super simple, but now I can get these variables done really quickly instead of trying to track them in this table, and the clients have a lot more automation. And that's it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I think your built-in onboarding form should copy this. It would save people a lot of hassle.
Very cool. Does anybody have any questions before we move on? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we are going to jump over to Jason. It's hard to use your first name there.
Yeah, it's I'm always surprised when people let me have a microphone. Yeah, Ashley's been harassing me to share something, so I finally built something that I could share reasonably. So let me figure out where to share it from. I think it's this one. Magic. Are you seeing stuff? I think so. Okay, so
Yes.
I am in the process of doing a bunch of data cleanup, right? Like I am not as technical as I once was these days. I mean, I'm still really technical, but I don't do the day-to-day cool tech stuff that you do with these cool stuff. I do a lot of boring business stuff like finance. And one of the things I've been tasked with is my sales team wants a tighter integration between HubSpot and Manage. We have some stuff synced right now, but they want to go all the way to using opportunities. So I started driving down the road of what it looks like to do that, and I ran into a problem. I had an overzealous salesperson years ago that loaded several thousand prospects into Manage. So my Manage is an absolute mess. So I decided I was going to clean that up and delete them. And if anyone has ever tried to delete companies out of Manage, it's not fun. You end up with this thing where, like, if depending on certain child records, you can't delete them. There's a bunch of other things. So I'm like, I can go ahead and automate this. So I drove down the road of creating a workflow to automate and delete Manage companies, and I very quickly ran into a problem with types, right? Like you cannot, if I couldn't delete the company, my goal was I'm just going to mark it inactive and I'm going to set a given type on it. But sorry, Roost people, none of the internal actions for types inside of Manage work. They're all wonky and broken for a variety of reasons. So I had to drive down the road of building this lovely workflow here. And this lovely workflow basically takes a company ID, it takes a type, and then it takes an operation. The operation could be add, delete, or replace. And it does what it says on the label, right? Like, so now I have a sub workflow that I can use anywhere, and I'll happily share this if anyone wants it. It's not super complicated. That can basically add a company type to a company. It can delete a company type for a company, and it can replace one if it doesn't exist. It has pretty good error handling. It will error out if like it does things weird, and it provides useful error values. I then took that workflow and I created this interesting delete or inactivate record workflow that basically just takes a company ID. It goes through the company and it looks up. I started with 3 conditions that I knew you couldn't delete a company for. It looks them up. If you can delete it, then it deletes it happily. If it cannot delete it, then it posts a message to our Slack indicating why it couldn't delete it. It uses that new sub workflow I created to set the company to a type. In this case, it's usually inactive. And then it also deletes another type, which I'll get to in a second here, and then it moves on its merry way. Then I took all of those things and I combined them into one giant thing called the CW company that literally does nothing but run in a loop. And so what this has allowed me to do is I can run through Manage and just add a type called delete to all of my companies that I wish to delete. And then I can go ahead and run the sub workflow or this workflow here, and it will handily go through and delete the companies. I have estimated, I just now put the time savings on these, right? I would estimate that for every one of them that I need to go through and see if I can delete it or not, it takes me about a minute. For messing with the company types, it takes me about 30 seconds. I ran this in production finally and deleted a subtotal of about 1,300 companies. And those 1,300 companies resulted in 10,000 tasks in a time savings of likely exceeding a day. For me to go ahead and do this. I was actually particularly proud of this because it ran through 1,900 or 1,390 records here, and of that I had 7 total failures, which, as it turns out, were just cases I didn't handle. It turns out you can't delete a company that has an open PO, and for some reason I had tagged some vendors with that, so I had to add some additional error handling. But this is just a nice, simple thing that, you know, it's a nice quality of life thing, and I brought it to you guys to make you think out of the box, right? Like a lot of us end up using Roost for a lot of really technical workflows, but man, there are a lot of workflows and stuff you can do outside of the technical realm with it too. That's it.
Awesome. That's amazing. Does anybody have any questions for Jason?
Did you say how long it took to make the workflow?
I mean, I made the workflow in a couple hours. So 90% of this, anyone that's worked with Manage, 90% of this is beating your head against the Manage API. It's like, why doesn't that work the way I think it's going to work? Or why doesn't that, like, why is this error happening here? Or why, in this case, do I have to pass this thing in this way and not this other way? So I mean, the actual core logic of it maybe took me a half hour, and then another, several hours of beating on the Manage API.
We have open time now. We got through everything pretty quickly, and this is actually a topic that I think a lot of people struggle with, and it's one that I remember, like that XKCD of like some random person finding out or asking the question that you're looking for, and it's like, what did you see? But like with that whole thing, how did you solve it? How did you figure out the type thing?
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a developer account on ConnectWise's site, so I went to the docs and a whole lot of trial and error, right? Like I started trialing and erroring in Roost, and then I'm like, this is taking too long, so I went to Postman. I got the actual stuff I had to do working in Postman, and then I came back and implemented it using the authenticated API call. I ran into all the traps that one runs into. I needed to filter on child conditions. And so I put it in a post body and then realized I was doing a get, and you can't actually send a body with a get. It makes Cloudflare angry. So you have to put that as a URL parameter. And like you end up running into every single one of those traps as you go down that road.
Jim Barry said that he was just attempting to solve that and quit trying. And
yeah. Ping me. I mean, as soon as I figure out, I know you guys share workflows as JSON. As soon as I figure out how to do that, I will gladly.
I can help you.
Okay.
I can help you get that going.
Yeah.
Send you a link. All right. Anybody else have any insights in that domain? I saw some chatter, or we can have a conversation.
Jason, you ever tried to create a streamlined IT board using the APIs?
Oh no, but that sounds miserable.
It was.
I mean, even the type subtype, right? Like, so my biggest complaint about the ConnectWise API is they've given no thought to resource design, and they basically have just exposed a REST interface around the internal tables, right? So logic would dictate that if I'm trying to get or set company types, it would be like /company ID, and then it would be /type, and then you would interact there with post, get whatever. But it's not. There's a whole nother API called company types or something like that, and basically you're only interacting with the many-to-many resolution table it's using under the hood, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
There's a lot of pain with the admin section of the APIs.
Type associations.
That's
yes.
it. It's type associations. Yep. It's company type associations in particular. And okay, too much silence is gone. Kelvin, talk. It's too quiet.
Okay, if it's too quiet, I'm gonna talk. Another thing that actually, Jason, you just said, like transferring over your project to something like a Insomnia or a what's the precursor to Insomnia called again? You use it, Jason.
Postman.
Postman. Thank you. Like just doing that for any project when you're trying to test around with stuff, it helps so much just to get one or two API calls right, or hopscotch. And when you get the API call right, transfer it to Roost and immediately start building there. Because at the moment that you have it right, it's better to start like using Jinja, thinking about how you're going to evolve your project. Because eventually, if you're going to keep doing it Postman, you're going to get, or Insomnia or hopscotch or any of the others, you're going to end up in a situation where you're doing so much cool stuff and you're like, dang it. And now I'm stuck because I need to do this, this, and that. And you're no longer thinking of how am I building my workflow. Another good one is just dragging things onto your workflow canvas, just dragging noops onto your workflow canvas and envisioning it yourself first. By the way, it's noop, not no op.
I 100% did that. Like the entire thing started out with just a bunch of no ops, because that's what I'm going to call it. And then it became mocked things, which I knew what tasks to use, and then I slowly implemented them.
Yeah,
it's test-driven
To add to
development,
Kelvin's
essentially.
point, Postman collections, I mean, while obviously limiting in terms of, insightful ideas, can be exported to things like open API specs that could then be imported into Roost using custom integrations. So just something to think about. It's okay to start there, but, if you really want, dynamic things with the ETL and everything like that, getting into Roost early is really the win there.
Yeah. So
you just mentioned something. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Can you expand on what you just said? Because it sounds like that would be an interesting type of demo. Is you say like by creating the open API spec from Postman.
So for reference, it's actually a library. It's a Rust package. It's actually quite literally called Postman 2, the number 2, that open API. And you can just run that on your computer and kind of give it the spec and it'll output. You can export collections from Postman, which this operates on for so. Oh, okay. There's actually a nice little GitHub doc. And it's inline too, so that works. Thanks.
That's cool.
Thanks for that, Brian.
Oh, that is neat.
You can export the Postman collection itself, Jason. And that's what's converted. You can't convert it natively from Postman, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought you could do a Swagger, but maybe not.
Yeah, they don't want you to leave Postman. That's
I know.
Not
so strange.
And that being said, to kind of also add to that point, if you have things like curl requests, those can also be converted into things like open API specs using ChatGPT or Claude or whatever Daniel called it. That's kind of
Pedro
the
again, pizza.
Yeah, it's Pedro. It's Pedro. It's Pedro. But the so there's a ton of things there. We're definitely going to try to make those things easier in the future. You can already kind of import either Swagger or Open API docs into Roost. But yeah, more to come there, especially around custom integration speed too. But just getting into Roost isn't difficult, and it offers you a ton of flexibility with the data that you're grabbing.
Yeah. And that's like a good point. Maybe like that's something like we could even chat about sometime, just from like the most basic level, like here's what your API call looks like in a tool like that, and what then that translates into in Roost for some of those people who just need to see that connection. That's such a cool resource though. I love that Jordan said curl, because I'm pretty sure, Kelvin, you called me out for saying that the other day. You said that it was CURL.
It's curl.
He's
Nobody
muted,
tell
but
Kelvin
doesn't
that he's
realize
muted. Don't
it.
tell him.
So glad he's muted right now. So much fun.
All right, Jeff.
We have no idea what you're saying.
It's GIF.
Jason,
It's GIF.
you just muted
Kelvin
me when I
basically is
started
pronouncing
talking.
it.
Is it char or char?
It's char.
Wrong. It's short for character, not character.
Character.
Okay, but curl is actually CURL. The creator of
I
it
know.
recently said that it's CURL. You're seeing it. It's such a stupid thing.
It's
I acknowledge that the committee has made a decision, but given that it's a stupid decision, I'm choosing to ignore it.
Alex us to ignore it. Yes.
Somebody said today that they wanted Roost didn't have a pizza tracker, and I was like, we should have a pizza tracker, or like Domino's. It's like we should have a pizza tracker just to keep track of all the nifty things that Jordan's doing.
No, what it really should do is have like an air tag on him and track how close he is to like wherever he works from.
They already
I don't know
have
if
the
he-
electric collar around my neck.
Yeah, I don't know if you work out of the office or not.
No, I work from home. Luckily, they've given me that, but the ankle bracelet doesn't let me go far.
Yeah.
We
Phillip,
should smuggle into
absolutely. Ask your
Ohio
question.
next year.
Saw that. So yeah, Phillip, if you want to ask your question, feel free.
All right, so this is a weird one. I've got this is a troubleshooting step. I've got a with items action, and that with items action calls to an API. And I'm passing in a board ID from an item, but I'm also trying to get I'm also trying to use that item as a key for a map. I will put the text, or I'll put the command, the URL.
Pass the list of IDs in the dictionary and then just look them up.
Yep. It doesn't work.
Oh, hold on, Jordan, that's a thing, right? Because they're not resolved yet, correct? With items?
Well, it works if I pass the item.
Yeah,
so,
correct.
So the URL that I get does give me the board ID, but I can't pass that item to get a key from the map in the CTX board map.
If it's needing to rely on each other, you probably want to do that in a sub workflow.
Now, Jordan explained this to me one day because I had the same thing going on. And my thing is, by the time that it tries to resolve that, when you're doing it, board map doesn't exist yet because of one. Jordan, you talked about this, I don't know, it was months ago. Is that still the case?
So board map is passed in as part of, well, it's passed in at the top of the workflow.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There was something to do. I don't know. Jordan can explain it. There was something to do with like when it gets built.
It might be. I think you might be relating to custom integrations v2, Slagle. But in regards to this, sorry, Philip. Just to clarify, is this a generic request or is it a custom integration v2?
It is not a custom integration.
Okay, cool. So in that regard, I don't know if that's going to be a little bit more of a complex question to answer because it really depends on the how the processing happens for the context at the with items. That being said, I think Jason is right in the sense that board map may not be available in the context of that given rendering, so to speak. So what you could do is, create a list of lists, so to speak, where you have the item and the mapped board map to then iterate over using your with items. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't, Phillip.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so you're kind of doing some pre-processing, and we can take this elsewhere if that would be a little bit easier to kind of contextualize. Unless anyone else has any insight.
Is it something that you could like share your screen on, or is that like we could look at the Jinja live editor, Philip? Or
there's no.
Or no, you can't do that with the with items. Never mind.
Yeah,
there's
and
no
I think that's the whole
customer-specific
thing.
Data. So I can share my screen and show you what I'm doing.
Because I ran into this exact same thing, and I ended up doing exactly what you said. Because when the with items are resolved, it's before the context gets injected into the Jinja thing, right? Like, and so you can't access any of those things. You can't access any of the context items.
So that's weird, because like this is what gets passed in my inputs.
That board map is not a list, though. Is that what? Are you trying to use it like one?
It's a dictionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that works. That should work.
And the problem is, when it tries to make this, I gotta refresh this page. But why is it not showing me the error? Yeah, so service boards item at this point should be valid, but it fails to resolve board map.get and then the item, even though the board map exists.
It doesn't exist yet. The item.
You have to make it a list, I think.
Chris is pointing out something in chat. You have a square bracket in there.
Yeah, I was trying that because somebody mentioned it.
Bruce, did you try that? There was the other recommendation about putting item in the square brackets right after board maps, like you're calling that key. Did you try that?
Yeah.
Because it's an object, right? So you have to
Instead of
so that-
.get.
Yeah.
Try that.
Yeah. Yeah. Put the square and then because then that should call that key. If you're able to.
After the board.
No.
Oh.
No.
It's also worth noting that you can kind of play through this using the Jinja Live Editor and kind of get some more insight into how it's behaving, maybe in things like the list comprehension in general.
He added the CTX.board whatever before the second item there, Emmett.
Yeah, you can in theory add a default filter to kind of for when it doesn't exist within board map, and that would solve that error right there.
But it does.
Yeah, guys, I think like the
The
chat.
value is trying to use the value.
Well, so board map is not ctx.board
Dot,
map.
yeah. You need the key and then you need the value of that as the item, right?
Well, it's teaminfo.teaminfo.board unless he redefines it later.
Define right here.
Oh, it is defined.
Try adding pipe string at the end like Chris suggested there. You should be able to, could you not? No, I guess you can't. It'd be cool to like test with items.
I don't think I'll fix it.
So that's getting the key from like CTX board, whatever, and then the value of that key, and then that's a string. But
instead of pair programming, it's mob programming.
Yep.
So this
we got a little bit further.
Hey.
Oh.
Hey.
All right.
We should celebrate with a beer.
I only have whiskey.
That works.
Did I just see you guys? You just reran the workflow from within the Jinja editor?
No.
Yeah, on the context screen on your results, you can rerun it from there.
Holy crap!
Yeah. So this is the result that failed.
I did
you
not
have to
know that.
republish it first. So
And any change you make in the workflow, you need to republish it. But
Jack
I
is
get that. But I'm just saying,
Jack is
just
also
rerunning that. I
mentioning
didn't
in chat.
realize doing that. Actually, you could just rerun it from there, though. That's
Yeah. So we spent the time
anyone
chatting
learn
about
something
this.
new every day.
Good.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, that actually got me past the first hurdle. The rest of it I can take care of. Thank you.
Awesome. Yes, and so like Jack said, support is there for you in your channel. These types of questions, they're great. We had a lot of time extra today, so it was awesome that we were able to look at that live. Thank you, everybody. We have 4 minutes left, so any other questions? We're good, but otherwise, it's the weekend.
It's the weekend.
Anyone made Doom run in Rust? I think Reed. I think Reed did.
Sorta, yeah. I mean, it was a workflow and Doom ran, so.
That was on the open mic one, yeah. But will it run Doom?
Now do Crisis.
Jason's got an idea brewing up there.
No, I can't help but think of those giant Minecrafts that make a giant Turing machine, and I'm just thinking about doing the exact same thing. Can I hook Roost to Minecraft? That'd be really funny, wouldn't it?
Oh my god. I want to make the weirdest stuff with APIs. Just like find the weirdest, obscurest API out there, and like let's make something with it.
Yeah, we found it. It's anything. It's the central ones.
So I actually have an idea for an absolutely wild workflow. We at my last job, we had a kid that I never watched any films, and we would routinely make fun of him, like even the most common movies he never saw. So one of our other coworkers bought the domain Movies Andrew Needs to Watch, and eventually I'm going to get around to creating a form with an platform app that people can submit movies for him to watch, and then it queries IMDb's API and gets all of the pertinent information. It'll go out and search for like where he can stream it at, and then when he logs in, he can like mark those movies as watched and things like that. So when I get some time, I'm gonna do it.
It's a clever idea. You could put an AI action in front of it to say like make some recommendations, and then it can call for more.
There you go. Yes. Yep.
Love that. Daniel, you have a question?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that if you're wanting to look for other people outside of this community doing really weird automations and connections between things that probably shouldn't be connected, look at the Home Assistant community.
Home Assistant, yeah.
Yeah, very similar stuff.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
They use Home Assistant for all sorts of things it wasn't designed to do.
Yep.
Somebody needs to make Home Assistant run inside of Roost.
Our local nuclear power plant uses Home Assistant.
It's they replaced Homer Simpson with it. He has to press the button. The drinking bird was unreliable, so now it's Home Assistant.
Awesome. Maybe we'll have to do something fun like that at Flow. Figure out weirdest APIs that you can make automations with no integration, with no authentication, and present it.
I have to decide if I'm going to come to Flow.
Oh yeah, I'll have to decide that soon and quick, and the answer is usually yes. So.
Yeah, I know.
All right, we're out of time, guys. There's the link for Flow. Check it out. See you guys next week. Same meow time, same meow channel.
Meow.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.